So, a little bit of an interesting flight here. Flying from a new place and flying a new wing. This is going to be our first impressions on a BGD Luna 2. So, we're gonna see if we can get this launch off here. Unfortunately, it's a nil-win situation, which I really would not prefer for first launch on a new wing, but this way. We're gonna try to hit this thing really hard. Hopefully, we get her up on the first try. Alright, here goes nothing. Oh. Woo. Well, first of all, that was crazy. I didn't even feel the wing when I hit it. It was so gentle. Like this wing, I didn't even feel it when I got to the end of the lines. I wasn't sure what was going on because my solo is like hitting a brick wall. Just to give you a little background, this wing is a 23-meter Luna 2. I believe it's in the Venus colors. It definitely feels pretty zippy, and I'm trimmed all the way in right now. Feels pretty quick. These brake toggle magnets are a little different. Yeah, they're fully trimmed out. We're gonna move to the tip steering just cause I'm technically, according to the manual I read, allowed to use brakes. Rather, I'm fully trimmed out and on speed bar simultaneously. You can still use them. I don't know if that's really a good idea, but we're just gonna go with tip steering. Woo. Definitely very reactive wing. More reactive than my solo, I think. Just a bit. Oh yeah. Granted, I don't use tip steering on the solo a lot, so I'm not quite as familiar with how the tip steering feels. So, to kind of fill you in on the backstory of why I'm even flying this wing, my thoughts are that I want a wing that's a little bit faster, just because I'm not able to keep up with everyone nearly as well normally. As you can see, we're definitely keeping pace pretty well here. On my solo, fully trimmed out, he was pulling away from me. And on this, I feel like I'm gaining on him. And I'm actually probably in his wake a little bit, but I don't think it really matters all that much. Oh. Scott's over there getting it. So this was my first flight on the Luna, and prior to this, I'd never flown any other wing aside from my Dudek Solo. So it was interesting how many things felt different and yet similar with this wing compared to my Solo. But now that I have about 3 or 4 flights on the Luna, there are some definite differences that I can feel and share with you. Obviously, I don't have a huge point of reference on a lot of different wings that I've flown because I've only ever flown the Dudek Solo and this Luna 2. And every wing feels different, but I can at least speak to what I feel as a new pilot and how each wing feels unique to me. So a few differences between the Dudek Solo and the Luna 2. The Luna 2 trimmed out is definitely faster than the Solo trimmed out. According to the manuals for each wing, there's a 10 kilometer an hour difference. So it's pretty significant. Now that being said, if both wings are on full speed bar, there's only a 4 kilometer an hour difference. However, I've never actually hooked up my speed bar on my wing, and I've never used a speed bar, so I feel like having more speed trimmed out is more important. And even then, on speed bar, the Luna is faster, but not by as much. So it has a lot more speed built into the trimmers as opposed to using the speed bar. The other thing that I found is when you start building up a lot of energy in the wing in like a steep turn, the Dudek Solo seems to want to balloon a lot coming out of a turn like that, and it just doesn't hold a lot of energy for a long period of time. It just wants to climb and release all of that energy or use it all really quickly. Whereas the Luna 2 seems to be perfectly fine with just flying faster for a period of time, and it just doesn't have that tendency of ballooning up when you come out of a turn. You just kind of slowly bleed off speed. You climb a little bit, but it just feels a lot more willing to hold that energy and slowly bleed it off as opposed to the Dudek. But I would say by far the biggest difference between the Dudek Solo and the Luna 2 is its launch characteristics. I've got probably, I would say, 30 launches or so with the Dudek Solo. Some forward, some reverse, some forward with wind, a lot of forward nil winds. And the characteristic of the Dudek Solo that I found that I'm not a huge fan of is as soon as you hit the end of the lines, it feels like you're hitting the brakes super hard. It feels like a drag parachute coming out and slowing you down. The moment you hit the end of those lines, you probably lose 60 to 75% of your forward speed on a nil-wind launch. If there's 2, 3, 4 miles an hour, it'll dead stop you. I mean, I can run 4 steps, try to gain as much speed as possible, and as soon as I hit the end of the lines, I'm dead stopped. And then it's kind of like a dig forward and try and push in as much effort as you can in order to get the wing up above your head. Once it gets up above your head, all that weight goes away, you run, everything is easy, the wing comes up at a pretty low speed, it's stable, the wing feels great. But that characteristic of like the weight that you feel, even though technically the Dudek Solo is a lighter wing than the Luna 2, you just feel a weight when you hit the end of your lines. As opposed to the Luna 2, when I hit the end of the lines on that wing, I don't even feel it. The only thing I feel is the lines tension, but I don't feel any braking sensation. I don't feel any weight behind me. It feels like I'm just running across the field with the motor on my back. And
It does require a little bit more speed to get off the ground, but that is a very easy trade-off for me to make in order to have the launch characteristics that have absolutely made me fall in love with the Luna 2. And for that reason, I'm both happy to say and kind of sad to say that the Luna 2 is my new wing, and the Dudek Solo is going up for sale. It was a really good wing. It was a great wing. It was the wing that I learned to fly on. It's the first wing I ever took a flight on, and I'll always be thankful to it for that. But I'm ready to move on to my next chapter. And me and the Luna 2, well, we're going to the moon and back.